Hi, Galen Miller here. I'm here to help you find a new way to have fun with your care group and dig into God's Word at the same time. And it's really a method that has been developed by missionaries that we've been training with Campus Crusade Story Runners Ministry in some of the remotest parts of the world. Some of these places don't use reading and writing in their daily life, so we have to communicate the Bible in story form. And we're actually using the old method that Jesus did. He didn't go anywhere except to tell stories. So how do you communicate a story through the Bible in an effective 3-minute narrative so that people can learn that narrative and have it in their heart to share the rest of the week with anybody God brings along their path? Well, last night I had a chance to actually do this narrative and spend a 30-minute time really unpacking the whole Bible story that it is. And I'll show you that in a minute. But thank you at Calvary for supporting my wife and I, Cindy, all these years in helping reach the world for Christ. And this is fun to be able to bring back what we've learned and help you all in your care groups have a new tool to have fun with and share the gospel with others and dig deeper yourself. So let's go right to it. Okay, well, tonight we're going to do an oral Bible story, and we're going to have you guys retell it after I tell it. So let's start off with this Bible story. It's right in the middle of the Old Testament. It's between the time of King David, many kings after him, but much before the time when Christ comes. So right in the middle of that time. That's the time of the prophets. And this story is actually about one of the prophets. His name was Elisha. Well, this is the story from God's Word. There was a king in the north and a king in the south. The king in the north was an evil man, but the king in the south was a good man, and he honored God. And the king in the south, he had a special spokesman of God who would tell him special things. And the king in the north was always trying to attack and kill the king in the south's army. And the spokesman would tell him when to move and where to move so that he avoided him. Well, this infuriated the king in the north. And he gathered all his advisors together and said, "Who is the traitor among you?" And one of the guys said, "No, it's not us. There's this man in the south who even knows what you say in your bedroom." "Well, we can't have this," the king would say. We need to go and get him." So he sent his army in the cover of night and surrounded this town where this man of God lived. The next morning, the servant of this man of God, Elisha, woke up, saw the army surrounding them, and panicked. He said, "Elisha, wake up, wake up! The armies are here to kill us." And Elisha waked up and said, "Lord, open the eyes of my servant so that he can see that greater are they that are with us than they that are against us." And immediately the servant could see that beyond that army, on the hillside surrounding them, was an even bigger army. But this army was like a blazing fire because they were angels. But God chose not to use that army. Instead, he prompted Elisha to go down to meet the army. And as he went, Elisha prayed and said, "God, blind the eyes of this army." And as he reached them, he said, "The guy you're looking for isn't here. I'll show you where he's at." And they agreed. And they walked way past his village into the capital city, and through the gates of this capital city, the whole army went through it, and they closed the gates. And Elisha again prayed, said, "Lord, open the eyes of this army." And immediately they were open, and they were terrified because they had just walked into the trap and were at the mercy of their enemy. Now the king of the south called down to Elisha and said, "What should I do? What should I tell my army to do? And should I have him killed?" And Elisha said, "No. God's got a better plan." And he said, "Give them a grand feast and send them back to their king." And that's exactly what they did. And for many years after that, the king in the north did not attack the king in the south. And that's the end of the story. That's what.
Go well.
I think so. Yeah, just press that. Press.
So what do you think? Think you can retell it that way? Well, the guys at Randy's group last night had some fun trying to retell the story a couple times, and everyone was kidding around, and they did it. Even some people who thought, "Oh, I can't retell the story." By the end of 30 minutes, they did a good job. Well, what we did was, after we retold it a couple times as a group, we unpacked 5 questions. What did you like about the story? What didn't you like? What does this tell us about the nature of God? And what does it tell us about the nature of man? And then finally, how does it apply to our life? So with those 5 questions, you can take these 3-minute narratives that are crafted so that they're easily remembered, easily retold, and do a Bible study in this fashion. It's a very relational way to dig into the Word, not being hung up on reading the Bible. Some people might not even enjoy that process. And again, like I said, you have a takeaway. So thank you so much for letting me share this fun tool that I've had a chance to learn, and hopefully we can do some more together. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.